the strength of solitude. Have you ever felt like you were walking through life completely alone? Like no one truly understands you? Like the world is moving on without you? Maybe you sit in a crowded room and still feel invisible. You scroll through your phone, seeing people laughing, connecting, living, and yet for you, there's only silence. But what if I told you that silence is not a curse? What if I told you that loneliness is not your weakness, but your greatest strength? Stay with me until the end of this video and you will see loneliness in a way you've never seen before. By the time this ends, you will understand why walking alone isn't something to fear, but something to embrace. The truth about loneliness: most people spend their lives trying to avoid loneliness. They surround themselves with noise, with people, with distractions, anything to keep from being alone with their own thoughts. Because when the world gets quiet, that's when the truth comes out. The truth about who they are, what they fear, and what they've been running from. But you are different. You have been forced into solitude. Maybe life took people away from you. Maybe friendships faded. Maybe you never had them in the first place. And now, here you are, standing alone, questioning if there's something wrong with you, wondering why you weren't chosen, why you weren't accepted, why life seems easier for everyone else. But here's the truth. The greatest transformation happens in solitude. Because in loneliness, you meet the real version of yourself. The one that doesn't have to pretend, the one that doesn't have to perform, the one that doesn't need validation to exist. Why the world fears solitude? People fear being alone because they fear themselves. They don't trust their own minds. They don't trust their own company. They rely on others to tell them who they are. They need approval, acceptance, reassurance. They live for the outside world's applause because without it, they feel like nothing. But you have been given a gift. Because when you are forced to stand alone, you are forced to build yourself from the inside out. You are no longer shaped by opinions. You are no longer controlled by expectations. You are free. Free to think, free to grow, free to become unstoppable. Loneliness is not emptiness. It's space to build. Think of an empty room. Most people see an empty room as a sad, lonely place. They rush to fill it with furniture, with decorations, with anything to make it feel less empty. But what if that room wasn't empty? What if it was full of possibility? Loneliness works the same way. It's not an empty space. It's a blank canvas. It's where you get to design your future, build your strength, sharpen your mind. The people who are never alone never get that chance. They are too distracted, too consumed by the opinions of others, too busy fitting in to ever discover who they truly are. But you are in the process of transformation, the shift in mindset right now. You might see your solitude as a punishment. You might see it as proof that something is wrong with you. But one day, if you embrace it, you will see it for what it truly is: a gift, a place where self-love is built, a place where discipline is forged, a place where no one can break you because no one made you. This is where strong minds are born. This is where powerful women rise, not in the crowd, not in the noise, but in the silence. And when you rise, when you step out of the solitude you once feared, people will wonder where you came from. They will wonder how you became so powerful, and they will never understand that the very thing they tried to avoid was the very thing that made you unstoppable. This is just the beginning of your journey. Keep watching, because the next part of this video will change the way you see loneliness forever. Script Section 2. The loneliness that feels like a curse. She wakes up to silence. No good morning texts, no calls, no one waiting for her. The world outside is alive. People rushing to work, friends meeting for coffee, laughter filling the air. But in her world, there's just emptiness. She scrolls through her phone, but there are no new messages. She watches others live their lives, surrounded by people, making memories, and deep inside, a question haunts her. Why am I always alone? It feels like a curse, like life has placed her in a corner, forgotten and unseen. She wonders if something is wrong with her, if she's unworthy of love, of connection, of belonging. But here's the thing about loneliness: it plays tricks on your mind. It whispers lies, making you believe you are invisible, making you believe you are unlovable. It convinces you that your isolation is a punishment, when in reality it is an awakening. Because loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of distractions. And when there is nothing left to distract you, you are forced to face the truth. The hidden pain no one talks about. People tell her, just go out and make friends. They say you need to be more social, but they don't understand. They don't understand the deep ache of sitting in a room full of people and still feeling alone. They don't understand what it's like to be surrounded by noise but feel like a ghost. She has tried to fit in. She has tried to force connection, but every time something felt off, something inside her knew these weren't her people. These weren't the connections she was meant to have, and so she stopped trying, she stopped chasing, and that's when the real pain set in. Because when you stop distracting yourself, loneliness doesn't just sit beside you, it consumes you. It makes you question everything. It brings up memories you buried, insecurities you ignored, and fears you never wanted to face. This is the part where most people break. Most people run back to meaningless friendships, toxic relationships, anything to escape the discomfort of solitude. They would rather be surrounded by the wrong people than be left alone with their own thoughts. But not her. She is different. She doesn't know it yet, but she is built for something greater. And that greatness can only be unlocked through what she's feeling right now. Why loneliness feels like a curse, but isn't reality. The world has convinced her that being alone is unnatural. That if she doesn't have a social circle, she is failing at life. That if she spends too much time with herself, she is missing out. But here's the truth. The people who fear loneliness the most are the ones who fear themselves. They are afraid of what they might discover if the world goes quiet. But she is in the process of becoming unshakable. Loneliness isn't a curse, it is a test. A test to see if she can stand on her own without the crutch of validation. A test to see if she can build her own happiness instead of relying on others to provide it. And right now, she is in the hardest part of that test. The part where it hurts. The part where she questions everything. The part where giving up seems like the easiest option. But if she pushes through, everything will change. The breaking point that leads to transformation. Loneliness is painful because it is breaking her old self. It is stripping away the version of her that needed others to feel worthy. It is burning away the insecurities that kept her small. It is removing every false belief that told her she wasn't enough on her own. And that process, it's brutal. She feels like she's losing everything, like life is taking away every comfort, every safety net. But what she doesn't realize yet is that she is not losing herself, she is finding herself. Because there is a version of her that she hasn't met yet. A version that doesn't need to beg for attention. A version that doesn't crumble when left alone. A version that walks into a room completely at peace, with or without anyone by her side. And when she meets that version of herself, she will never see loneliness the same way again. The turning point. Right now, the loneliness feels unbearable. It feels permanent. It feels like an endless cycle of empty days and silent nights. But it's not. This is not the end of her story. This is the beginning of her rise. Because the moment she stops fighting loneliness and starts embracing it, everything shifts. The pain turns into power. The isolation turns into strength. The silence turns into clarity. And one day she will look back at this moment, the moment she thought was breaking her, and realize it was building her. She will realize she was never alone. She was simply becoming the woman she was meant to be. Script Section 3, Society's Expectation versus Reality. She grew up believing the lie. The lie that life is only meaningful when it is shared with others. The lie that happiness comes from being surrounded by people. From always having someone to call. From never eating alone. Everywhere she looks, society reinforces this belief. Movies, books, conversations. Everything tells her that friendship is the key to fulfillment. That a person without a strong social circle is missing something, is incomplete, is broken. But what if that isn't true? What if the real reason society pushes this idea so hard is because most people are terrified of being alone? What if the world convinces her that she needs others not because she truly does, but because they do? This is the illusion she must break. The pressure to belong. From the time she was a child, she was taught to fit in. She was told to be friendly, to be likable, to be a part of the group. She was praised when she made friends and pitied when she didn't. Because in this world, being alone is seen as a failure. She watched as people did whatever it took to be accepted. They changed the way they talked, the way they dressed, the way they thought, just to be included. They laughed at jokes they didn't find funny. They followed trends they didn't care about. They became versions of themselves they didn't even recognize. all for the sake of not being alone. And for a while, she tried to do the same. She forced conversations that felt unnatural. She stayed in spaces that drained her. She ignored the feeling in her gut that told her these weren't her people, this wasn't her place. But no matter what she did, something always felt off. She could be surrounded by people and still feel empty. She could be included and still feel unseen. Because deep down, she wasn't looking for just any company. She was looking for something real, something meaningful, something most people will never understand. Why society glorifies friendship, even when it's shallow. Most people don't have real friendships. They have people they call when they're bored. They have people they use for entertainment, for validation, for convenience. But how many of those friendships would survive without constant interaction, without favors being exchanged, without mutual benefit? Most friendships are built on dependency, not true connection, and she sees it now. She sees how people would rather have anyone than be alone, even if it means keeping shallow relationships alive, even if it means pretending, even if it means betraying themselves. But she is not like them. She refuses to settle for surface-level connections. She refuses to fill the silence with meaningless chatter just to feel like she belongs. She refuses to entertain people who drain her energy, who make her doubt herself, who only show up when they need something. She would rather walk alone in truth than stand with many in illusion. The power of walking away. There was a time when she feared loneliness, when she would have done anything to be accepted, when she stayed in places that didn't feel right just to avoid the sting of solitude. But something shifted. She started asking herself, why am I fighting so hard to be part of something that doesn't fulfill me? Why am I chasing people who don't truly see me? And in that moment, she did the one thing society never teaches. She let go. She let go of the need to be liked. She let go of the pressure to fit in. She let go of the belief that she was less valuable because she walked alone. And when she did, something incredible happened. The weight lifted, the exhaustion disappeared, the anxiety of trying to be enough for others faded away. She realized she had spent so much time trying to prove her worth to people who were never meant to be in her life. And when she stopped proving, when she stopped chasing, she finally felt free. Reality. You do not need anyone's approval to live fully. Society will tell her she needs a big circle, that she needs weekend plans, that she needs constant validation from others. But she knows better now. She doesn't need a table full of people. She just needs peace. She doesn't need a long list of contacts. She just needs purpose. She doesn't need to be understood by the masses. She just needs to understand herself. She is not lonely. She is liberated. Because when she stopped seeking acceptance, she found something far greater. Self. And that is worth more than any friendship in the world. Script Section 4. The strength in walking alone. There is a kind of power that only comes when you walk alone. A kind of power that cannot be borrowed, cannot be faked, and cannot be taken away. It is the power of self-reliance. The power of knowing that no matter who comes or goes, you will still stand. Most people will never experience this power. They never allow themselves to. They spend their entire lives surrounded by noise, by people, by constant interaction. They seek comfort in the crowd because they are too afraid to face themselves in the quiet. But she is different. She didn't choose loneliness, it chose her. Life stripped away the unnecessary, removed the distractions, and placed her in front of a mirror, forcing her to see herself for who she truly is. And for the first time, she is beginning to realize that being alone does not make her weak, it makes her dangerous. The world respects the unshakable people, admire those who are independent, but they don't understand what it takes to become that way. They see the confidence, the strength, the unbreakable spirit, but they don't see the nights of doubt, the battles fought in silence, the pain endured in solitude. They don't see the moments when she questioned everything, when she wondered if she was enough, when she fought the urge to run back to the safety of familiar faces, but she pushed through, and now the world sees her differently. They sense something unspoken about her, a presence, a certainty, a quiet power that does not beg for attention. She does not need validation. She does not seek approval. She does not depend on others to define her worth. And that makes people uncomfortable. Because the moment she stopped needing anyone, she became unstoppable. The shift that changes everything. Something happens when a woman stops looking for reassurance. when she no longer seeks permission to exist, to take up space, to live life on her own terms. She stops settling, she stops apologizing, she stops lowering her standards just to be accepted. She realizes that the people who truly belong in her life will not require her to shrink herself. They will not ask her to change. They will not make her feel like she must prove her worth just to earn their presence. And the moment she understands this, her entire energy changes. She is no longer the one who waits for invitations. She is no longer the one who compromises herself just to keep people around. She is no longer willing to tolerate anything less than what she truly deserves. She becomes the one who chooses, the one who decides, the one who walks away without fear, knowing that what is meant for her will find her, not because she chased it, but because she became the kind of person who attracts what is real. Why most people will never understand this path. Most will never understand why she chooses solitude over shallow connections. They will assume she is lonely, that she is unhappy, that she secretly longs to be part of the crowd. But what they don't know is that she has already tasted the freedom that comes with standing alone. She has felt the peace of not being tied to anyone's expectations. She has experienced the power of making her own decisions without seeking approval. She has embraced the beauty of her own company, and in doing so, she has discovered something most people never will. Self-sufficiency. And once a person becomes truly self-sufficient, they can never go back. She does not need distractions. She does not need constant validation. She does not need to explain herself to those who refuse to understand. She simply lives. The quiet power of independence. The strongest people in this world are not the ones with the loudest voices, the biggest circles, or the most recognition. The strongest people are the ones who stand tall when no one is watching. The ones who continue even when no one claps for them. The ones who find meaning not in the approval of others, but in the journey itself. She is one of those people. She has learned that solitude is not isolation, it is preparation. It is where she sharpens her mind, strengthens her heart, and builds the kind of resilience that no one can take from her. And because of this, she is no longer afraid. She does not fear being alone. She does not fear losing people. She does not fear walking a path that few will understand, because she knows that in the end, the only thing she truly needs is herself. Script section 5. The misunderstanding of a strong woman. They look at her and assume she must be broken, that her solitude is not a choice but a burden. They whisper that something must be wrong with her. Why else would she walk alone? They don't see the truth. They don't see that she has learned to enjoy her own company, that she has built a life so fulfilling, so rich with purpose, that she no longer needs to cling to temporary people just to feel whole. She has outgrown the need for validation. She no longer requires constant reassurance to know she is enough, and this makes her different. Most people live their lives trying to be understood, trying to prove themselves, trying to fit in. But she has stopped explaining. She no longer wastes time convincing others why she chooses solitude over shallow connections, peace over drama, depth over distractions, because she knows that those who truly understand will never need an explanation, and those who demand one will never truly understand. The world fears what it cannot control. There is something unsettling about a woman who is content on her own, a woman who does not seek approval, who does not ask for permission, who does not follow the script society has written for her. People don't know what to do with someone they cannot define. They don't know how to respond to someone who does not beg for attention, who does not chase relationships, who does not rely on others for happiness. So they try to label her. They call her distant, cold, too independent. They tell her she will regret not making more friends, not settling down, not conforming to the path that everyone else blindly follows. But she smiles, because she knows the truth. She knows that the people who say these things are not speaking from wisdom, but from fear. Fear that they could never survive without the constant presence of others. Fear that their happiness is dependent on forces they cannot control. Fear that they have never truly met themselves because they have never dared to be alone. She has no such fear. The strength to walk away. She has learned to walk away from what does not serve her, to say no without guilt, to protect her energy like it is the most valuable thing she owns. Because it is. She refuses to entertain conversations that drain her. She refuses to hold on to relationships that drain her aligned with who she is becoming. She refuses to let loneliness trick her into thinking she must accept less than she deserves. She has learned that it is better to walk away empty-handed than to hold on to something that is slowly breaking her. And that kind of strength, that kind of discipline, it is rare, it is powerful, it is what makes her unstoppable. The freedom that comes with letting go. There was a time when she believed she had to fight for every relationship, that if a friendship was fading, it was her responsibility to fix it. That if people walked away, she had done something wrong. Not anymore. Now she understands that not everyone is meant to stay, that some people are seasonal, that some connections expire, and that's okay. She no longer chases, she no longer begs. She no longer clings to what has already left her spirit. She lets go because she knows that the right people, the ones truly meant for her, will never require her to lose herself just to keep them around. The rise of a woman who knows her worth. She is no longer the girl who waits for an invitation to belong. She is no longer the woman who fears being left out, being overlooked, being misunderstood. She has built her own space, created her own peace, designed a life that does not revolve around the presence or absence of others. She is whole, and that is the most powerful thing a woman can be. Scripture section 6, embracing the power of silence. The world is loud. Everywhere she turns, there is noise. Opinions, expectations, endless distractions pulling her in every direction. People talk just to fill the silence. They surround themselves with constant chatter, afraid of what they might hear if the world ever grows quiet. But she has learned something most never will. There is power in silence. She no longer feels the need to explain herself, to defend her choices, to prove her worth. She lets people think what they want. She lets them assume, misunderstand, and create their own stories about her. Because she knows that in the end, none of it matters. Their opinions do not define her. Their judgments do not shape her path. She has stepped back from the noise, from the chaos, from the endless cycle of seeking validation, and in the stillness she has found something priceless: clarity. The strength found in stillness. Most people avoid silence because silence forces them to listen, not to the voices of others, but to themselves, and that terrifies them. They do not want to hear their doubts. They do not want to face their insecurities. They do not want to sit with the truth of who they really are. So they run. They fill their lives with constant movement, constant distractions, constant validation from others just to escape themselves. But she has stopped running. She has sat in the silence. She has listened to her own thoughts, faced her own fears, confronted the parts of herself that she used to ignore. And in doing so, she has become something rare. Self-aware. She no longer reacts out of fear, no longer makes choices out of desperation. She moves with intention. She speaks with purpose. She acts from a place of deep understanding, not blind impulse. And this makes her dangerous. Because a woman who is comfortable in silence is a woman who cannot be controlled. The liberation of letting go, she has stopped holding on to things that weigh her down. The need to be liked, the pressure to be understood, the fear of being alone. She has let it all go. She does not force conversations that feel unnatural. She does not chase people who show no effort. She does not waste her energy proving her worth to those who are too blind to see it. Instead, she pours her energy into what truly matters: her growth, her peace, her purpose. She understands now that not everyone will appreciate her journey. Not everyone will understand her silence, but that is not her concern. She is no longer living for others. She is living for herself. The confidence that comes from within. There is a different kind of confidence that comes from solitude. It is not the kind that needs to be announced, not the kind that seeks attention or approval. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. She does not need to prove herself to anyone because she has already proven herself to the most important person, herself. She does not need constant reassurance. She does not need a crowd to remind her of her worth. She does not need to be surrounded by people to feel valuable. Because she carries her confidence within her, it is in the way she walks, in the way she speaks, in the way she refuses to settle for anything less than she deserves. It is in her ability to be alone without feeling lonely, to stand in silence without feeling lost, to walk away from anything that does not align with who she is becoming. The woman who cannot be broken, she has been tested. She has faced moments where the world tried to convince her that she was nothing without others. that she needed constant validation, constant companionship, constant reassurance just to survive. But she has proven them wrong. She has stood alone and thrived. She has embraced the quiet and grown stronger. She has walked away from the unnecessary and discovered true freedom. And now she moves differently, not because she is cold, not because she is unapproachable, but because she has finally realized that she does not need anyone to complete her. She was whole all along. Script section 7. The transformation of a woman who walks alone. There comes a moment when she realizes she is no longer the person she once was. The version of her that once craved connection, that once feared solitude, that once questioned her worth in the absence of others, it no longer exists. She has changed. She has stepped into a new identity, an identity forged through silence, through self-discovery, through the fires of being alone. And this transformation has given her something she never expected: peace. She no longer feels the urge to explain herself. She no longer seeks permission to live as she chooses. She no longer measures her happiness by the number of people in her life, because now she understands that true happiness was never found in others. It was always within her. The energy shift that changes everything. When a woman stops seeking external validation, everything about her changes. The way she walks, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself, it all becomes different. She moves with certainty. She no longer hesitates. She no longer questions whether she is enough. She no longer shrinks herself to make others comfortable. And people notice. There is something about a person who has fully embraced themselves. Something unspoken yet undeniable. She does not have to demand respect. It is given freely. She does not have to ask for attention. It naturally gravitates toward her. Not because she is trying to impress anyone, but because she radiates something rare. Self-assurance. Most people go their entire lives without ever truly knowing themselves. They allow the world to shape them, to dictate their worth, to tell them who they should be. But she has broken free. She has rewritten the script. She has chosen herself. And because of that, she moves through life differently. The world responds to those who know their worth. Something strange happens when a woman refuses to settle. People who once dismissed her begin to take notice. People who once overlooked her begin to wonder what makes her different. People who once assumed she needed them realize they were mistaken. Because now she carries herself like someone who knows exactly who she is. She is no longer desperate for approval. She is no longer afraid of walking away. She is no longer clinging to relationships that add no value to her life. And that energy, that level of self-respect, it is magnetic. But here's the truth. By the time they finally see her worth, she no longer cares for their validation. She does not seek recognition. She does not crave attention. She does not need anyone to tell her she is enough, because she has already decided that for herself. Why the strongest women stand alone, not because they are incapable of love, not because they reject connection, not because they have given up on relationships, but because they refuse to lower their standards just to fit in. She has learned that not everyone is meant to walk this path with her, that some people are not ready for the depth she brings, that some cannot handle the strength she carries. She has made peace with this. She no longer tries to force bonds that were never meant to last. She no longer pleads for people to understand her. She no longer bends herself just to make others stay. If they cannot meet her at her level, she lets them go. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Because a woman who knows her worth will never beg to be in places she has outgrown. The freedom of being unapologetically herself. She is not waiting for life to begin. She is not pausing her dreams, hoping someone will walk this journey with her. She is not waiting for approval before she steps fully into her power. She is already living. She is already embracing every moment, taking every opportunity, becoming the person she was always meant to be. And that is real freedom. Is the moment she stopped waiting for the world to accept her, she became unstoppable. Scribner section 8, the strength of a woman who no longer seeks approval. There was a time when she cared, a time when she would adjust her words to be more acceptable, a time when she would soften her edges to fit into spaces that never truly welcomed her, a time when she would shrink herself just to make others feel comfortable. But that time is over. She has learned that no matter how much she tries to please others, it will never be enough. That no matter how much she explains herself, there will always be those who misunderstand her. That no matter how much she gives, there will always be people who take without appreciation. So she has stopped trying. She no longer lives for the expectations of others. She no longer seeks permission to be who she is. She no longer waits for someone else's approval to know that she is worthy. Because she has finally realized something powerful. She does not need it. Breaking free from the need to be liked. For too long, she was conditioned to believe that being liked was the key to happiness. That if she could just be agreeable enough, kind enough, accommodating enough, people would accept her. But she has seen the truth. She has seen that no matter how much she gives, there will always be those who expect more. That no matter how much she sacrifices, there will be those who never appreciate it. That no matter how much she bends, there will be people who still walk away. So she has made a decision. She will no longer live to be liked. She will no longer betray herself just to fit in. She will no longer silence her voice just to keep the peace. She will no longer pretend to be someone she is not just to earn the approval of those who will never truly see her. Instead, she will live for herself. The freedom that comes with owning who you are. Something changes when a woman fully embraces herself. She stops waiting for the world to validate her. She stops explaining herself to those who are committed to misunderstanding her. She stops apologizing for who she is, and suddenly she becomes untouchable. She walks into a room and does not seek attention, but attention finds her. She speaks with a quiet confidence that needs no reassurance. She holds herself with a presence that demands respect, not because she asked for it, but because she has earned it. People may not always agree with her. They may not always understand her, but they will always recognize one thing. She is real. And real is rare, letting go of the fear of being misunderstood. She has made peace with the fact that not everyone will understand her journey. That some people will assume she is distant when she is simply focused. That some will mistake her solitude for sadness when it is actually her greatest source of strength. But she no longer wastes energy trying to explain, because she knows that those who matter will never need an explanation, and those who demand one will never truly listen. So she lets them believe what they want. She lets them create their own stories. She lets them make their own judgments, because at the end of the day, she is not living for them. She is living for herself. A woman who chooses herself cannot be stopped. She has learned that the moment she stopped waiting for approval, she became unstoppable. She no longer hesitates to say no. She no longer tolerates less than she deserves. She no longer waits for life to happen. She goes out and makes it happen. She is no longer bound by the fear of rejection. She is no longer controlled by the need to belong. She is no longer weakened by the opinions of those who do not walk her path. She is free. And that is what makes her truly powerful. Script section 9. The power of walking away without looking back. There was a time when she held on too tightly, a time when she fought to keep people in her life even when they no longer deserved a place. A time when she believed that if she just tried harder, if she just gave more, if she just proved her worth, they would stay. But that version of her no longer exists. She has learned a lesson that most people never do. When something no longer serves her, she has the power to walk away. Without guilt, without hesitation, without second guessing whether she made the right choice. Because she knows now that walking away is not weakness, it is strength. No longer begging to be chosen. She used to wait for someone to notice her worth. Wait for them to see what she brought to the table. Wait for them to realize that she was someone worth keeping, but not anymore. She does not wait for people to choose her. She chooses herself. She no longer begs for time, for effort, for attention. She no longer explains why she deserves to be treated well. She no longer tries to convince anyone of her value, because she knows now those who fail to see her worth were never meant to be part of her journey. And she is no longer interested in convincing them. Mastering the art of letting go used to feel impossible. It used to feel like failure, like giving up, like losing something that could have been saved. But now she sees it differently. Letting go is not about weakness. It is about wisdom. It is about understanding that not every relationship is meant to last. Not every person is meant to stay. Not every bond is worth holding on to. So when something no longer aligns with her, she releases it. She does not force what is falling apart. She does not beg for someone to stay. She does not try to breathe life into something that was never meant to survive. Instead, she moves forward. Not because she does not care, but because she finally cares enough about herself. The unshakable confidence of knowing when to walk away. There is a quiet power in knowing when something has reached its end. She does not need closure. She does not need explanations. She does not need apologies that will never come. She simply knows when it is time to go. And she does not just leave physically, she leaves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. She does not dwell on what could have been. She does not replay conversations in her head, searching for the moment things changed. She does not wait for someone to come back and make things right, because she understands something most people do not. Peace is worth more than forcing something that no longer fits. The world respects those who refuse to settle. People may not always understand her choices. They may wonder why she left, why she stopped trying, why she walked away from something that once meant everything to her. But that is not her concern. She does not need the world's approval. She does not need anyone to understand why she made the decision she did. Because she knows the truth. She knows that she deserves more than half-hearted love, than empty promises, than one-sided effort. She knows that settling is a slow death of the soul. She knows that walking away is not giving up. It is choosing herself. And that choice, that is the most powerful decision she will ever make. Script section 11, the silent strength of a woman who refuses to break. She has faced storms that would have destroyed most people. She has endured pain that should have shattered her spirit. She has walked through fire and emerged without burning. And yet she stands. Not because life has been easy, not because the path has been smooth, but because she refuses to break. She has learned that true strength is not found in loud displays of power. It is not found in proving something to the world. It is not found in forcing others to see her resilience. Her strength is quiet, unshakable, unapologetic. It is in the way she keeps moving forward when everything inside her wants to stop. It is in the way she chooses to rise when life tries to pull her down. It is in the way she continues to love, to believe, to hope. Even after the world has given her every reason not to. Turning pain into power, she has known loneliness. She has known rejection. She has known what it feels like to be unseen, unheard, and underestimated. But she has never let it define her. She has taken every disappointment and used it as fuel. She has turned every loss into a lesson. She has used every moment of pain as a stepping stone to something greater. She does not waste time asking why life has been unfair. She does not drown in self-pity. She does not sit around waiting for someone else to save her. She saves herself. And in doing so, she has discovered something incredible. Her pain was never meant to destroy her. It was meant to shape her into the woman she was always destined to become. The power of a woman who refuses to settle. She does not settle for less than she deserves, not in love, not in friendships, not in the way she allows the world to treat her. She has spent too many years accepting crumbs, believing they were enough. She has tolerated mistreatment because she was afraid of being alone. She has silenced herself to make others comfortable. But she does not do that anymore. She knows now that settling is a betrayal of the soul. That allowing herself to be treated as an option is an insult to everything she has fought to become. That she would rather walk alone with dignity than stand beside those who do not truly value her. And so she chooses herself. Over and over again, without regret. No longer seeking validation from the world. There was a time when she cared about what people thought. A time when she adjusted her dreams to fit society's expectations. A time when she measured her worth by how much she was liked, how much she was accepted, how much she was praised. But not anymore. Now she walks her own path. She makes choices based on what is right for her, not what others expect. She builds a life that fulfills her, not one that impresses the world. Because she understands something most people never do. Happiness does not come from external approval. It comes from within. She no longer wastes energy proving herself. She no longer seeks validation from people who do not even understand her journey. She no longer adjusts herself to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. She simply lives. Authentically, boldly, fearlessly. A woman who knows her worth cannot be controlled. She is not controlled by fear. Not by the fear of loneliness, not by the fear of rejection, not by the fear of failing. She moves forward even when the path is uncertain. She takes risks even when success is not guaranteed. She speaks her truth even when her voice shakes, because she knows who she is. She knows her worth, her strength, her potential. She knows that she is more than her past, more than her struggles, more than the opinions of those who do not see her value, and that makes her unstoppable. Script section 12, the rise of a woman who owns her destiny. There was a time when she believed life was something that just happened to her, a time when she waited for opportunities to come, for doors to open, for someone to recognize her worth. She thought if she was patient enough, if she was good enough, if she gave enough, life would reward her. But she was wrong. She has learned that life does not wait for anyone. It does not hand out success, love, or happiness to those who sit in hope. It moves forward with or without her. And the only way to get what she deserves is to rise and take it. So she no longer waits. She no longer hesitates. She no longer asks for permission to chase what is hers. She creates her own opportunities. She opens her own doors. She defines her own worth because she understands now. Her destiny is not in the hands of fate. It is in her own. No more excuses, no more waiting. She used to tell herself she wasn't ready, that she needed more time, that she needed to be more experienced, more confident, more prepared before she could step into the life she wanted. But now she knows there is no perfect moment. There is no right time. There is only now. So she stops making excuses. She stops waiting for things to be easier. She stops expecting someone else to come and make her dreams a reality. She steps forward, ready or not. She takes action even when fear whispers that she will fail. She moves even when doubt tells her to stay where it's safe, because she refuses to let fear decide her future. Mastering the art of self-discipline, she has realized that success is not about motivation. It is about discipline. Motivation fades. Some days she will not feel inspired. Some days she will want to quit. Some days she will question if all the effort is even worth it. But she does not stop, because she has trained herself to keep going even when she doesn't feel like it. She has disciplined herself to push forward even when the path is hard. She has committed herself to the process, not just the outcome. She wakes up early when others sleep. She works when others relax. She stays focused when others are distracted. Because she is not just dreaming of a better life, she is building it. The courage to walk a different path. Not everyone will understand her journey. Some will criticize her for choosing independence over conformity. Some will question why she walks away from comfort to chase something uncertain. Some will tell her she is too ambitious, too different, too much, but she does not need their approval. She is not afraid to stand alone. She is not afraid to be different. She is not afraid to break the rules that were never meant for her, because she knows that greatness is never found in following the crowd. It is found in daring to go where others won't. She does not follow the path laid out for her. She creates her own. A woman who refuses to settle will change the world. She knows she is meant for more than just surviving, more than just existing, more than just accepting what she has been given. So she refuses to settle. She demands more from herself, from her life, from the world. She pushes past her limits. She refuses to accept good enough when she knows she is capable of great. And because of that, she is unstoppable. Not because she is fearless, not because she is perfect, but because she has made a choice. She will not stop until she has built the life she deserves. Description, Section 13, the power of a woman who knows her worth. She no longer begs to be valued. She no longer seeks validation from those who fail to see her light. She no longer tries to convince people to treat her right, because she has realized that her worth does not decrease just because others fail to recognize it. She used to lower her standards, thinking that if she was more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, people would appreciate her. But she learned the hard way. People do not respect what they take for granted, so she has stopped giving chances to those who waste them. She has stopped explaining herself to those who are committed to misunderstanding her. She has stopped holding space for those who only show up when it is convenient for them. She does not chase, she does not beg, she does not wait. She simply walks away from anything and anyone that does not align with the life she is creating. Respect begins with self-respect. She used to wonder why people didn't treat her the way she deserved, why they overlooked her, why they ignored her value, why they treated her as an option instead of a priority. But then she realized the way people treat her is a reflection of how she treats herself. So she changed. She started setting boundaries. She started demanding respect. She started showing up for herself in the way she always wished others would, and suddenly the world responded. Because when a woman respects herself, others have no choice but to respect her too. She will no longer dim her light for too long. She made herself smaller so others wouldn't feel insecure. She toned down her ambition so she wouldn't intimidate. She hid her intelligence so she wouldn't be seen as difficult. But those days are over. She refuses to shrink for the comfort of others. She refuses to apologize for her success. She refuses to play small just to make people feel big. She has worked too hard, fought too many battles, and overcome too much to dull her shine for those who cannot handle it. She will walk into every room with confidence. She will own her voice, her presence, her power. She will take up space unapologetically because she is done playing a role that does not fit her. She was never meant to be small. A woman who knows her worth cannot be manipulated. She used to fall for empty words, for false promises, for people who only loved her when it was convenient. Not anymore. She has learned that words mean nothing without action, that love is not about what someone says, it is about what they do. That people who truly care will show up not just when it is easy, but when it is hard. She no longer gives her energy to those who drain her. She no longer believes excuses from those who fail to show up. She no longer entertains people who do not value her presence, because she knows now her time is precious, her love is rare, and only those who truly deserve it will receive it. She stands alone, but she is never lonely. Some may look at her and assume she is lonely. They may think she is missing something because she does not seek constant companionship. They may believe she is incomplete because she chooses solitude over meaningless connections. But she knows the truth. She is at peace. She is fulfilled. She is whole on her own. She has built a life that does not depend on external validation. She has created a world where her happiness is not dictated by others. She has mastered the art of being alone without ever feeling lonely. Because she has something that many never find, inner peace. And that, more than anything, is what makes her truly unstoppable. Script section 14, the strength of a woman who walks her own path. She no longer waits for permission to live. She no longer asks if her choices are acceptable to others. She no longer wonders if she is on the right path. Because she knows, deep in her soul, that the path she is walking is hers alone to walk. There was a time when she hesitated, a time when she doubted herself, fearing what others might say, a time when she wanted to belong so badly that she silenced her own voice just to fit in. But that time is gone. She has embraced the truth. She was never meant to follow the crowd. She was never meant to blend in. She was never meant to live according to someone else's expectations. She was meant to carve her own way, to define her own success, to live a life that is authentic, even if it is misunderstood by many. She no longer seeks validation for her choices. At first, it was difficult. She wanted support. She wanted encouragement. She wanted someone to tell her she was making the right decisions. But she has learned that not everyone will understand her journey. Not everyone will believe in her vision. Not everyone will support the path she has chosen, and that is okay. Because she no longer needs approval. She no longer looks around for reassurance. She no longer waits for others to believe in her before she believes in herself. She has given herself permission to trust her own instincts, to listen to her own wisdom, to move forward even when no one else sees what she sees. She does not explain. She does not justify. She simply moves. She has mastered the art of walking alone. Some people fear solitude. They feel uneasy in their own company. They constantly seek distractions, noise, validation from the outside world. But she is different. She has walked alone through the darkest moments of her life. She has stood strong when the world turned its back on her. She has rebuilt herself piece by piece with no one to hold her hand. And now, she fears nothing. She does not rely on company to feel complete. She does not need others to feel valuable. She does not attach her worth to external acceptance. She knows who she is. She is comfortable in her solitude. And she understands that sometimes the greatest journeys must be taken alone. She will not apologize for her growth. There are those who will not recognize her anymore. Friends who will say she has changed. Family who will say she has become distant. People who will claim she is not the same woman they once knew, and they are right. She has changed, she has grown, she has evolved. She has shed old versions of herself that no longer serve her. She has let go of the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that once held her back. She is no longer the woman who tolerated disrespect. She is no longer the woman who sought love in the wrong places. She is no longer the woman who settled for less than she deserved. She is stronger now, wiser now, more powerful than ever before. And she will never apologize for that. She owns her life without regret. She has learned that regrets are nothing more than wasted energy. She no longer looks back and wishes things were different. She no longer dwells on mistakes or missed opportunities. Because every wrong turn, every painful lesson, every struggle has shaped her into the woman she is today. She does not regret walking away from what no longer served her. She does not regret choosing herself when the world told her not to. She does not regret the moments of loneliness, the silent nights, the times when she felt like she had no one. Because through it all, she found herself. And that is the greatest victory of all. Script section 15, a woman who rises above everything. She has faced storms that would have broken others. She has walked through fire and come out stronger. She has been underestimated, overlooked, and doubted, yet here she stands, unshaken, unstoppable, and more powerful than ever. The world tried to silence her. It tried to convince her that she was not enough. It threw challenges at her, hoping she would give up, but she refused to be defeated. She refused to let circumstances define her worth. She refused to believe the lies that told her she was anything less than extraordinary. She has built herself up from the ground. Not because it was easy, but because she had no other choice. She had to rise. She had to fight for the life she deserved. She had to become her own source of strength. And now she walks with a confidence that comes from knowing she survived every battle meant to destroy her. She no longer fears the unknown. There was a time when uncertainty terrified her, a time when she clung to the familiar, even when it no longer served her, a time when she stayed in places that made her unhappy because she feared what would happen if she left. But now, she embraces the unknown. She understands that growth comes from stepping into discomfort, that transformation happens when she is willing to let go of what is safe, that the life she dreams of exists beyond the limits of fear. She does not need all the answers. She does not need a perfect plan. She simply trusts herself enough to take the next step, even when the path is unclear, because she knows that no matter what happens, she will figure it out. She always has. She always will. She refuses to settle for less than she deserves. She has learned that the world gives her what she is willing to accept. If she settles for less, she will always receive less. If she tolerates disrespect, it will continue. If she allows herself to shrink, people will expect her to stay small. So she has stopped settling. She no longer entertains half-hearted love. She no longer accepts empty promises. She no longer gives her energy to people who drain her. She demands more, not because she is entitled, but because she knows her worth. She knows what she brings to the table. She knows that she deserves love that is deep, respect that is unwavering, and opportunities that challenge her to grow, and she will not accept anything less. She moves with purpose. She is no longer aimless, no longer lost, no longer wandering through life waiting for something to change. She has a vision now, a direction, a deep understanding of who she is and what she wants. Every step she takes is intentional. Every decision she makes is in alignment with her truth. Every choice she embraces brings her closer to the woman she is meant to be. She is done with distractions, done with meaningless pursuits, done with wasting time on things that do not add value to her life. Now she focuses only on what matters, on her growth, on her peace, on her purpose, because she knows that time is precious and she refuses to waste another moment living a life that is not her own. She has become the woman she was always meant to be. She no longer wishes to be anyone else. She does not envy the lives of others. She does not compare her journey to anyone else's, because she finally sees the beauty in her own story, the strength in her struggles, the wisdom in her experiences. She has spent years doubting herself, questioning her path, wondering if she was enough. But now she knows she was always enough. She was always capable. She was always meant to rise. And now she stands as living proof that no matter how difficult the journey, no matter how lonely the road, no matter how many times she had to start over, she made it. Not because she was lucky, not because it was easy, but because she refused to give up on herself. Script final section. The power of a woman who stands alone. She has walked this path alone. She has faced days when silence was her only companion. She has endured moments when the weight of loneliness felt unbearable. But through it all, she has discovered something extraordinary. She never truly needed anyone to complete her. She was whole all along. She no longer sees solitude as a curse. She no longer believes that being alone means being lonely. Instead, she understands that standing alone is a privilege. It is a sign of strength. It is proof that she has built herself up in a way that no one can break her down. She does not chase validation. She does not beg for attention. She does not lower her standards just to fill an empty space. Because she has learned that true happiness does not come from being surrounded by people. It comes from knowing that even when the world is silent, she is at peace with herself. She has mastered the art of walking away. She has given chances more than she should have. She has forgiven people who never apologized. She has stayed in places long after she should have left. But not anymore. Now she understands that walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is the greatest act of self-respect. She no longer waits for people to change. She no longer clings to situations that no longer serve her. She no longer holds on to relationships that drain her. She does not fight for a seat at tables where she is not welcome. She does not force connections that do not feel right. She does not beg for love, for attention, for recognition, because she knows that what is meant for her will never require her to beg. She knows that not everyone will understand her journey. She has accepted that her growth will make some people uncomfortable, that her success will threaten those who refuse to evolve, that her confidence will intimidate those who are used to seeing her small. But she does not shrink herself to make others comfortable. She does not soften her voice to avoid offending people. She does not dim her light just to fit in. She stands tall. She speaks her truth. She embraces her power, because she has finally realized that her life is not meant to be lived for the approval of others. It is meant to be lived boldly, fearlessly, unapologetically. She no longer fears losing people. There was a time when she held on too tightly, a time when she feared that if she let go, she would have nothing left, a time when she equated loss with failure. But now, she understands that not everyone is meant to stay, that some people are only part of the journey for a season. That losing people is not the end of the world. It is simply the clearing of space for something better. She does not chase after those who leave. She does not cry over doors that close. She does not cling to what was never truly meant for her, because she trusts that everything happens for a reason, that every ending brings a new beginning, that every loss makes way for something greater. And so she lets go without fear, without regret, without hesitation. She has stepped fully into her power. She is no longer the woman who questions her worth. She is no longer the woman who waits for permission. She is no longer the woman who doubts her own strength. She has become unstoppable. She makes her own decisions. She follows her own path. She listens to her own voice. She does not need reassurance. She does not need permission. She does not need anyone to tell her what she is capable of, because she already knows she is powerful, not because she has never been broken, but because she has rebuilt herself every single time. She is strong, not because life has been easy, but because she has faced every hardship head on. She is fearless, not because she has never felt doubt, but because she refuses to let fear dictate her life. She is a woman who has risen from the ashes, a woman who has turned pain into power, a woman who no longer waits for life to happen, she makes it happen. And that is what makes her truly unstoppable.